Hello, 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 my loves. Happy, what is today? Thursday? Happy Thursday. And welcome to another edition of the monthly Astro Forecast live here in the Astro Room on YouTube. I am your host and your favorite astrologer, Mel of Divine Feminine Works, where I help people unlock their divinity and discover their magic. So if this is our first time meeting, welcome. And as always, if you are returning, welcome back. So this channel is everything astrology, spirituality, and manifestation. So if those are the things you like, if those are the things you love, or if those are the things you want to learn more about, don't forget to hit that subscribe button as well as that notification bell so you'll always be notified when I come out with new content. All right, my love. So happy holidays, right? We're still in the midst of holiday season, and we are not only are we on the brink of a new fiscal year, right? Because we all know the natural new year begins in April, but we are on the brink of a completely new age, an age that has already started, but is really going to start to solidify and is really going to start to crystallize in 2024. And January is actually one of the more pivotal months of the year where we have some really important cosmic activity going on. All right. So lots to talk about, lots to discuss. I have a very important message to impart upon you today. So before we get into all of the details, of course, housekeeping and announcements. So thank you for rocking with me at this different time, right? So I am someone who really tries my best to adhere to what spirit tells me. Now, I'm a Virgo sun, and so I'm someone who likes routine, consistency, habit. I try to keep things as regular as possible, right? So if I say I go live every Monday night for the weeklies, I go live Wednesday night, the last Wednesday of the month at night, I go for the monthlies. I try my best to adhere to that, but sometimes Spirit has messages to impart upon me. Sometimes I need to rest. Sometimes I have my own inner work that I'm doing. So sometimes my schedule cannot be as regular as I would like it to be. And so I thank you guys so much for your patience and for rocking with me, because sometimes things can get a little off kilter, especially if I have things to do. And when I say things to do, like I'm going through some deep healing work right now. I'm transmuting a lot of energy. I'm tired. I'm receiving downloads. Like, it's a lot. You guys know this because I'm pretty sure if you're watching this, you're sort of on the same trajectory as well. So I say all that to say thank you for your patience. Thank you for rocking me. And thank you for joining me at this random time, right? A random Thursday morning. But I feel like maybe going forward I should do some of these more daytime lives. It might give people, who can't join me late at night the opportunity to do so. So I don't know. Let me know what you think. I'll also put a poll on my community tab so you guys can let me know what times are best for you, because this isn't about me. This is about you. This is to impart this information onto you, to give you the clarity, the understanding, the enlightenment. Whatever you get from these broadcasts, it's ultimately for you. So you guys let me know what is best for you. And of course, I will oblige. All right. Now, so let's see, announcements and details. So if you are joining me on the live this morning, thank you so much for tuning in. I sincerely appreciate you. Hopefully you get what you came for, right? And if you do, definitely, first of all, I want you to say hi in the chat, or let yourself be known in the chat. Engage with the others who are here this morning, right? And number two, definitely hit that like button, not just because this information is valuable, but it definitely helps the channel. The more likes, the more engagement, it helps this message disseminate to more people ultimately who need to hear this. So definitely hit that like button, please, and thank you. And if you're joining me on the replay, I appreciate you just as much. I sincerely hope that you get at least one piece of information that you can use going forward. And if you do, please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and that notification bell, because I've got a lot more in store over the next coming years and definitely throughout 2024. All right. In terms of announcements, the 2024 yearly horoscopes per signs, they are up. I've got 9 signs done. I've got the fire signs, the water signs, and the earth signs. So by the end of the day, all of the earth sign videos will be uploaded. And then tomorrow I will be uploading the last 3 signs, which will be the air signs. All right. So check that out. Gives you everything you need to know for 2024. And speaking of 2024, if you really want to know what 2024 has in store for you, then you should definitely consider booking my 2024 annual reading. All right. This is basically taking your natal chart, looking at the transits for 2024 as they relate to your natal chart to give you a concise picture of what's going to transpire for you throughout the year. Now, keep in mind, I should say that as astrologers, when we sort of predict the future, it's not so much about predicting actual events, it's about predicting themes. And that's exactly what this report and consultation do. It's about predicting the themes that are going to play out in 2024, because the actual events that could actually play out really represent themes in your life. And that's, again, exactly what this service does. So it is a written report with all of the important transits that you will need to know and prepare for 2024. Plus, it is a 60-minute online consultation. So you will know exactly what to anticipate throughout the year. All right. Plus, I also pull cards from Spirit. It's a whole vibe. All right. Now, slots are limited, and I'm only offering this service until mid-January. So you should definitely check that out and book your session as soon as possible. The link will be in the description box below. Plus, it will also be tagged in this video. All right. Now, apart from that, maybe you're not ready for all that. Maybe you kind of just want to get your feet wet and figure out what all this astrology stuff is. So if that is the case, I would consider that you subscribe to my free text service. And you'll want to do that by texting ZODIAC to 826-5544. This basically gives you your weekly horoscope every week. It'll get texted to your phone every Monday. People seem to really enjoy it. People seem to really get a lot of information from it. So if you are interested, again, that information is text ZODIAC to 855-826-5544. That information will be in the description box below as well. And last but not least, if you are someone who is new to astrology and you have no idea what's going on, or maybe you are someone who's like, okay, I started studying astrology, I know a little bit, but it's confusing. There's a lot of information. Don't worry, I got you covered. So I created this thing called the Astrology Basics Cheat Sheet, which essentially gives you the basics, what you need to start studying astrology, namely the 4 pillars of astrology, which are the planets, the houses, the signs, and the aspects. So it's an 11-page PDF document that gives you a short summary on all of these things so that you can start committing them to memory. Because regardless what anyone says or doesn't say, astrology is a science. Now, it's science, it's divination, it's a lot of things rolled into one, but primarily it is a science. And like any science, it requires a good deal of study. So to help you start studying, I created the cheat sheet. If you're interested, it's completely free. You just have to drop your email address and you'll be good to go. So the link for that will be in the description box below. All right. So, like I said before, sometimes Spirit likes me to take a step back because there are certain things that I need to see, hear, downloads that I need to get, etc. And this was one of those times. And this message came to me this morning so clearly, so loudly that I realized that it wasn't just for me, that it is for everyone. And this message really speaks to the time that we're in right now. Okay. I'm sorry. I need to get a drink of water because lately, I don't know if it's an allergic reaction. My nose has been itching like crazy. My throat is dry, all that kind of stuff. But this message really speaks to the time that we're in right now, because we're at a really important and I want to say weird time in history right now. We are definitely at an impasse, right? It's almost like there is a clear line that is being drawn, and that has been drawn over the last couple of years. And definitely this line has become solidified in 2023. And it's, a lot of people will, they'll label it like spiritual warfare. And to a certain extent, it is spiritual warfare, but I don't necessarily think it's spiritual warfare in sort of the traditional sense, in what we've been conditioned to think, right? There is old earth and new earth, and the line between the two is becoming very much apparent. And we are being presented with a choice right now. Old earth, new earth, And all of this speaks to the transit of Pluto, which is making a major move this month. and that will be shaking things up and really giving us a whole different perspective on life, on society, and on the world in general, right? But we're at a point where it's like you've got to choose which team are you playing for, essentially. Are you sticking with the old, what you know, what's comfortable, or are you ready to venture to some place new? Now, it's not just an easy, okay, yeah, I'm up for the new, or, oh, I don't know, let me just stick with the old. Making this choice is a lot more complex than I think that many of us, and many of us are realizing that right now. So the message I got was acceptance and conformity. And the way that this message came to me was that I was shown the Three of Cups card in the tarot. And the Three of Cups really is, on the surface, it's very much about community. It's about celebration, right? Because you see three people typically celebrating on this card, right? It's a card of togetherness. But underneath the idea of togetherness is the concept, or are the concepts, of acceptance and conformity. It's interesting because I stumbled upon this show on HBO the other day called The Garden, and it's this off-grid community of people who, they got some notoriety on social media because a lot of people thought it was a cult. They live off grid, they grow their own food or whatever. And so the premise of this show was that this group is starting to accept newcomers, and newcomers are trying to enter into this community because maybe they want to live off grid. Some of them believe that the world is going to hell and that we need to be prepared for basic survival skills. So they want to gain these skills in this community because basically, like I said, they live off grid. They, shit in the forest and they grow their own food and all of this other stuff. And that wasn't even the most interesting part of the show. The interesting part of the show was how you have this community that has its own rules, and you have people who want to enter into this community, right? And do those rules really reflect who they are? Because what happens is you come into this community and they give you a 10-day trial period. And at the end of the 10 days, the community votes on whether they want to let you in or whether you have to leave. So there's this concept of, do I conform to the rules of this group and stay in the community and enjoy the togetherness of this community? Because there's obviously benefits in community, right? It's togetherness, it's acceptance, it's love, it's shared goals, it's, working toward the same thing, right? That feels good. Acceptance feels good. And that's one of the things that we crave as humans, right? Is togetherness and acceptance. But acceptance is very different than conformity. Now, while all of the rules of the group may not be perfect, right? There's a difference between I'm willing to sacrifice certain things to be a part of this group, as opposed to these rules do not reflect who I really am. And one of the interesting points of this show was that one of the founding members of this group, at first, he was like one of the inner circle, right? A lot of people look to this guy as a leader. And what ended up happening was that some of the things that he wanted to do, or some of the things he wanted to do as a collective, didn't sit well with some of the other members. And you started to see the group fractioning off. And he was just, he went through this whole dialogue of how, the group doesn't reflect him anymore. He can't be his authentic self in this group with the way that the group is structured. And I'm going on this rant to say that whatever was going on in this show is actually reflective of what is going on right now. Now, many of us, pretty much all of us, have been indoctrinated into a particular group, and that is society. Many of our societal norms are a result of a certain collective consciousness, right? And many of us are awakening to the fact that a lot of the rules of the group just don't sit well with us anymore, right? A lot of us are waking up to who we really are, our authentic selves. And it's not to say that, many of us have been wearing a mask, if I'm being honest, but It is to say that many of us choose to conform so that we can be accepted. Because here's the thing, in this show, when people were asked to leave the group after the 10 days, when the group was like, you don't fit in with us, you have to go, there is an extreme sense of isolation. There's an extreme sense of, oh, I'm not good enough for the group. Or for some who were strong enough, they were like, you know what, this group didn't reflect who I was anyway. So maybe it is time for me to either go alone or to find a group that does reflect who I truly am, right? And this is what is going on right now. And this theme of acceptance and conformity is going to get really loud this year, especially in January, because Pluto is getting ready to go into Aquarius. Now, Aquarius is the sign of rebelliousness. It's the sign of breaking the mold. It's the sign of innovation and invention. So we've just gone through this Pluto and Capricorn phase where we've seen a lot of societal norms. We've seen a lot of authority figures crumble. And that's to show you that the collective consciousness is changing the rules of the group. And so a lot of us, as we awaken to who we truly are, we're like, well, which group do we belong to? Right? Because some things are so ingrained in us, we can't imagine not operating under those rules. However, a lot of us are feeling like our souls and our spirits are like, wait, this doesn't make sense to me anymore. But I don't know who else feels the same way that I do, or who thinks the same way that I do. Or I don't know I don't know what the future holds. So rather than explore that, a lot of people are like, let me just conform. But here's the thing. With Pluto moving into Aquarius, that conformity may cost you a lot, because it's almost like you're on the Titanic and it's sinking and you're like, I don't know what's going to happen if I get in that lifeboat. I could live, I could die. But you know what? I'm already here on this big boat, so let me just stay here. And guess what? It sinks. A lot of us are still choosing to conform to rules that are no longer applicable and that are going to be decimated, right? So it's really about choosing. What choice are you making right now? Are you going to stick to what you know, or are you going to venture off to something new? Now, the good thing about Aquarius is that even though Aquarius is about rebelliousness, Aquarius also represents the collective. So if your fear is like, well, I'm leaving this group, like let's use an example like religion, right? People are leaving religion in droves because they're realizing that those rules are no longer applicable to them as an authentic being. Whereas some people are doubling down even harder on religion because they're like, well, everything that is different than this must not be good, right? I feel like there's a clear line being drawn between religion, spirituality, right? Although it's not as black and white as we think it is. And I'll get to that in a second. But it's like people are realizing that, okay, this doesn't work for me anymore. This doesn't represent who I truly am. But I don't know who else thinks this way, right? Understand that even though Aquarius is a sign of rebelliousness, which kind of inherently has this energy of uniqueness, right? And unique looks like solitary. In a sense, I think that sometimes that's how we think about it. Like, you know, the weird kids in high school, they're sort of outcasts because they're not popular or they're not jocks or whatever, right? But then you also find that there's a group of weirdos. There's a group of nerds. There's a group of unique people, right? And so if your fear is, well, I don't know, how can I find community when I think so differently? How can I find community when I'm so much in my authentic self? You will find your community. There's plenty of people who think like you, maybe not exactly, because everyone has their own unique perspective, but you will find your tribe. You will find your group. And the fear of that should not make you desire to conform to something that no longer serves you. Okay. So this dividing line is not just between old world and new world. It's also about liberation versus oppression. And what Spirit dropped on my heart this morning is like, it's not as simple as religion versus spirituality, right? There's so many different ways to get to liberation. And number one, you have to allow people their own experiences. Don't just label someone as like, oh, they're conforming, they're still religious. No, it's not that black and white. Essentially, it boils down to anything that allows you to expand, that allows you to be liberated, is what is emblematic of this new world. Whereas anything that keeps you suppressed, anything that requires you to give your authority and your power away to an outside source, is what's indicative of the old world. And I'm pretty sure you're saying, well, isn't that what religion does? It can, but I do think it is. I'll say that in a certain way. But some people know what to take from religion in order to liberate themselves. Some people understand. Everyone has their own experience, and some people need that foundation of religion to experience this liberation. Like, you can't just, it's not a black and white thing. So don't just look to someone and say, well, oh, or here's another example. Working versus entrepreneurship. I feel like this line has also gotten really, this topic has also gotten really divided. People are like, you shouldn't work for anybody. You shouldn't do this. You shouldn't do that. Some people need that structure in order to be able to liberate themselves. So I say all of this to say it's not as black and white as you think it is. So when you are looking for community, when you are looking for acceptance, don't just label someone as, oh, they're spiritual, so they're all about liberation. No, I've seen plenty of spiritual people who are still tied down to certain dogma, who are still tied down to certain rules, who are not willing to expand their minds. So it's important that we look beyond the surface. It's important that we are able to understand what those themes are and understand that it's not so black and white. All right. I know that was a really long message, but it was something that I was really supposed to impart on you today. So the choice is ultimately yours. And I really think that it boils down to what liberates you and sets you free is what's going to allow you to vibe with the frequency of this new earth. And what's keeping you tied down is like, sticking it out on the Titanic, but the choice is yours. All right. So with all of that said, and again, all of this came up because we have this important transit this month, which is Pluto going into Aquarius. Okay. We had a taste of this year between March and June. But now in 2024, Pluto is going to remain in Aquarius for most of the year, although it is going to retrograde back into Capricorn later between September and November. And at that time, I want you to pay attention. I mean, I'm saying this now. However, this is still a good 9-10 months to go. Pay attention to what happens between September and November. And this is really interesting because this is going to be the height of election season here in the United States. Whatever is not working, right? Capricorn represents authority. It represents structure. It represents tradition. And that's everything that Pluto has been bulldozing through while it's been in Capricorn. So when it retrogrades back into Capricorn, it's going to be very interesting to see what is demolished and what stays, because what stays is really indicative of what this new world, this new earth is going to be like. All right. So that being said, let's get into the astrology for January. All right. So of course, we start with the highlights. So first we have what I like to call moving forward. And this is good news because Mercury is getting ready to go direct. All right. It's currently in Sagittarius, still retrograde. And by January 1st, it will start going direct in the sign of Sagittarius. So this is just things going back to normal, the regular Mercury retrograde stuff, right? When Mercury goes direct, we have the opportunity to express ourselves a little better. Communication goes well, little fewer mishaps, all of that good stuff, right? Then we have what I like to call a new age. And I really just expanded on this, right? This is not only Pluto in Aquarius, but the sun is going into Aquarius. And this is going to be a very interesting thing to witness this month. All right. It's the age of information. It's moving into the future, and it's grand plans for the collective. All right. Then towards the end of the month, we have what I like to call surprise, surprise. And this is Uranus going direct. Now, this isn't as climactic and as exciting as you would think it is. When the outer planets tend to go direct, we feel it, but not really. And Uranus has been in Taurus for a good 5 years now. So we've had this Uranus retrograde, Uranus direct kind of, we've had it a lot. We've experienced it quite a few times over the last 5 years. However, later on in 2024, we're going to have a very interesting conjunction between Jupiter and Uranus in Taurus. So that's going to be something good. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Either way, Uranus going direct. This is what I like to call controlled chaos. This is shaking you out of your comfort zone, and this is going to be new surprises. All right. So let's get into the month and see exactly what we've got going on. So first and foremost, we've got Mercury going direct in Sagittarius, followed by Mars moving into Capricorn. Thereafter that, we've got the new moon in Capricorn, which is the new moon for the month. Then Mercury is going to start to move forward and will make its way back into Capricorn. Then the sun will be moving into Aquarius, followed by Pluto moving into Aquarius. Venus is going to be moving into Capricorn. Then the full moon for the month is going to be in the sign of Leo. And then finally, like I just mentioned, Uranus will turn direct in Taurus. All right, so let's get into it bit by bit. So first and foremost, we've got Mercury going direct in Sagittarius on January 1st. All right, so Mercury in Sagittarius allows us to think of the bigger picture. It is, not being so detail oriented, even though Mercury, the energy of Mercury is quite detail oriented. When it's in Sagittarius, we see the bigger picture. We want to expand our minds. We want to move past our comfort zones mentally, right? This could be whether it's you want to learn something new. Typically, Mercury in Sagittarius has a lot to do with wisdom gained through experience. So it's not just about expanding your mind. You typically tend to do that through experiences. That's why Sagittarius is really associated with long distance travel. Think about when you've gone someplace that you've never been before, or perhaps that has a different culture, and how that affected the way that you started to think, right? Those experiences, whether it's experiencing different food, whether it's experiencing a different language, a different religion, or a different culture, how that kind of affects you mentally. Like, it broadens your mind, it expands your mind. And Mercury direct in Sagittarius is all about that. Now, Mercury is not going to spend too much time in Sagittarius because it was just there and it's making its way back to Capricorn. However, I feel like when Mercury is in Sagittarius and it's direct, it allows us to have new experiences. It allows us to have new adventures. It allows us to learn new things. So while it is there for a week, 2 weeks, maybe that's the time that you want to learn something new. Maybe it's a good time to take a trip, especially to a far off place you've never been, right? Or just to learn something new, do something to expand your mind, because once Mercury moves into Capricorn, things are going to be a little less adventurous and a lot more structured. All right. So then next up, we've got Mars moving into Capricorn. Okay. Now, I want you to pay close attention to where Capricorn and Aquarius are in your natal chart. I want you to look at the houses that Capricorn and Aquarius occupy. These are the houses that are going to be emphasized in January, okay? Because we've got Mercury moving into Capricorn, we've got Mars moving into Capricorn, we've got the sun still in Capricorn, at least for the first part of the month, plus the new moon is going to be in Capricorn. Now, Capricorn energy is serious energy. It's energy that is success driven. It's energy that is diligent. It's energy that is concerned with status and reputation, but all of that is built upon a foundation of hard work. Okay. Now, when a planet like Mars goes into Capricorn, Mars has everything to do with physical strength. So this may be a time where, depending on where Capricorn is in your chart, this is where you exert more physical force or you engage in more physical labor, right? Now, this won't apply to everyone because, of course, it depends on where Capricorn is in your chart. And for some, a lot of us don't do physical labor. A lot of us don't do manual labor, right? And whether you're not doing manual labor, the way that you can sort of take advantage of this energy is that you can put deliberate energy behind whatever topics Capricorn covers in your chart. So, for example, I'll give you a physical example and a non-physical example. Let's say that you've got Capricorn as your first house. So you are a Capricorn rising. That is the house of self, okay? So when Mars goes into Capricorn, while you may not be doing construction, while you may not be performing surgery, which are all very much Mars type activities, maybe you want to start working out. Maybe you want to start implementing strength training into your workouts. Maybe you want to do more cardio, right? Maybe you even want to do Pilates, right? That's a physical representation of Mars in Capricorn, particularly if you've got Mars in the first house. Let's say you've got Capricorn as your third house. Your third house is everything to do with ideas and communication, very non-physical kind of stuff, right? However, because the third house has to do with ideas, rather than putting in physical strength, you're going to be putting in mental strength. You're going to be thinking about things. You're going to be a lot more deliberate and put in a lot more effort to how you think or maybe into communicating with people, right? Regardless, Mars is all about effort and energy. And so wherever Capricorn is in your chart, when Mars goes into Capricorn, this allows you to get work done, whether physically, mentally, it could even be romantically, right? If Capricorn is your fifth house or maybe even your seventh house. This is where you can get a lot of things done. Now, Mars also has this energy of initiation. So wherever Capricorn is in your chart, once Mars goes into Capricorn, this may be a time when you want to set new goals and start putting in the work to achieve those goals. Okay, so like I said, a lot can be done. But here's the thing. Mars energy is very impulsive and it's all about instant gratification. So when Mars enters whatever house Capricorn is in your chart, this may be a time where you feel really motivated to start something new. To go back to my example before, let's say you've got Capricorn as your first house. Mars goes into Capricorn, especially at this time of year, right? You're like, listen, I want to get into shape. I want to lose 50 pounds or I want to gain 50 pounds of muscle, right? Or I want a lean stomach. I want a summer body, right? You are really amped about it. But that Mars energy is going to want to see quick results. Mars is like, listen, I've been eating good for 2 days. Why have I not lost weight? I went to the gym 3 times last week and I don't see a 6-pack yet. Like, what's going on? Mars in Capricorn is like that engine revving, but having to go the speed limit, which may be like 25 miles an hour. So on the one hand, you're motivated, you're ready to go full speed ahead. And Capricorn is like, nope. We got to take this one step at a time. We got to make this a routine. We have to build a system around whatever this goal is and continually add fuel to that system. Summer bodies are made in the winter, right? It's currently winter. It's going to be 6 months until we get to summer. Don't expect the summer body to show up at the end of January. You got to put in the work and you have to be persistent. But not only you have to be persistent, you have to be patient. So wherever Capricorn is in your natal chart, this is where you can start something new. But understand that you're going to have to put in work consistently over a period of time to achieve that something new that you want to start. All right. And that is happening on January 4th. Perfect timing, right? The whole fiscal new year, new me. All right, let's see if you still are chanting that same affirmation come March or April, right? Capricorn is going to want your commitment. It's going to want your dedication and it's going to want your hard work. All right, so definitely keep that in mind. All right. Speaking of Capricorn, next up we have the new moon of the month, which is going to be in Capricorn, and that is going to go down on January 11th. Okay, so New moons are all about new beginnings. It's about planting new seeds and setting new intentions. So just like the energy of Mars in Capricorn, the new moon in Capricorn is going to give some of kind of the same flavor. This is where you're going to want to plant a seed that you literally want to see grow over time. And just like the example I gave before, when you plant a seed today, you don't eat the fruit today. Capricorn is like, not only am I going to require you to build a system in order to achieve this goal, I want you to work hard. I want you to be patient. And I'm going to test you to see how committed you are to this goal, to this seed that you want to bring to fruition. I don't know, for me, exercise, workout, all of that stuff is like the best example of this, because this is something that many of us can understand, right? So you decide to lose weight this year and you're serious about it. You've perhaps joined a new gym, you've gotten some new workout clothes, you've gone to the grocery store and you're like, listen, I'm going to meal plan. I'm going to prep my meals for the week. I'm really going to stick to this, right? And then what happens? A couple of weeks into your journey, your friends are like, yo, let's go out tonight. Let's go out to dinner, and then let's go get some drinks, and then let's go to the club, right? Now, typically there's nothing wrong with this. But if you're really serious about working out, number one, obviously you have to watch what you eat. So going out to eat can be a little tricky. Number two, you should definitely limit your alcohol intake, which kind of puts a damper on going out for drinks. And number three, if you're on a strict regimen when it comes to dieting and exercise, you need sleep. Hanging out till 4 a.m. is very much contrary to that. And I don't know about you, but as I get older, if I stay out till 4, I'm going to need at least a good week and a half to recover. So you're like, okay, it's just one time. It's my friend's birthday. Let's go, right? And you get sauced, you eat with reckless abandon, and you stay out till the sun comes up. Now, it has completely thrown off your routine, the system that you set up to lose weight, right? You're like, oh, okay, well, it was just one time. And you find that as the week goes on, you're like, oh, I really don't want to eat this food. Let me order out. Or you know what? It's Friday. Let me get another drink. It's been a stressful week. And before you know it, the whole system that you put in place has kind of dismantled itself, right? The system has dismantled itself. And your goal of losing weight seems so much farther away. That's Capricorn testing you, seeing if you're going to pass the test. Capricorn always wants to know, how bad do you want this? How badly do you want this? Are you willing to commit to this? And understand what commitment means. So understand that any seed that you plant at the new moon in Capricorn is probably number one of a serious nature, because Capricorn wants serious shit. Let's say you've got Capricorn as your 7th house, which means that you're a Cancer rising. This is all about relationships, right? But not even just relationships. It's about commitment. So you want to get married, or you want to take your relationship to the next level. Are you willing to really commit to it and everything that comes with it? If you are, and you pass those challenges, because invariably there will be challenges, right? You get into fights, you have misunderstandings and things like that with your partner. Are you willing to stick it out? Are you willing to work it out? Or is it when things get tough, you're like, oh no, I don't want to do this anymore. Or as sometimes we like to say, oh, it wasn't meant for me. This wasn't meant for me because this is a bit difficult, right? New moon in Capricorn is serious business. However, if you are willing to commit, if you're willing to put in the work, if you're willing to tend to the seed that you are planting, in 6 months to a year, that seed is going to bear some really beautiful fruit. Because even though Saturn is a planet that typically gets, and I say Saturn because Capricorn is ruled by Saturn. Saturn typically gets a bad reputation because it's hard, it's limiting. It's full of challenges, obstacles, delays. It makes you work. It requires you to be patient. When you adhere to Saturn's rules, you get a really beautiful reward and something that is truly valuable, right? If you are willing to commit to someone and you work out your problems in a healthy way and you allow yourselves to get closer, right? When you take your relationship to the next step, that's not only a very beautiful experience, it's very valuable to you in your life. So really think about what seeds you want to plant at January's new moon, which is going to be in Capricorn. These are going to be seeds that, and what I'm getting right now is that parable in the Bible of the seeds being planted in different places, right? You have one that's planted in soil, one that's like thrown on the street. And I'm paraphrasing here, so don't come for me, all right? One that's planted amongst weeds, right? Sometimes you are planted in places that are not optimal because there are certain skills you need to develop, right? For instance, the seed that is planted amongst weeds. It's not that you can't survive. It's that you have to adapt to the environment that you're in, right? And in that adaptation, you build character. Saturn and Capricorn are all about building character, right? So if you're willing to do that, those seeds that you planted this new moon are going to bear some really beautiful fruit. All right. So definitely keep that in mind when you set your intentions. If you're setting intentions at this new moon that are frivolous or intentions for which don't really mean much to you, or intentions that you don't really plan on working toward, it's going to be a hell of a ride for you over the next 6 months, because Saturn at Capricorn is going to take you to task. Saturn's going to be like, well, at the new moon, you planted these seeds. What about them? Right? Again, to use the example of weight loss, it's like you tell everyone, or everyone sees that the seed that you planted is weight loss or a healthier body, right? And then you have people coming up to you like, oh, I saw that you didn't go to the gym this week, or, oh, you're eating that. I thought you were trying to lose weight. Saturn is going to take you to task, whether you like it or not. So be very intentional about the seeds that you plant at this new moon in Capricorn. All right, let's keep it moving. So thereafter, next up, we've got Mercury moving into Capricorn. So I want you to see a trend. We had Mars move into Capricorn. We had the new moon in Capricorn. We have Mercury moving into Capricorn. And the sun is still going to be in Capricorn at this particular time, which is January 13th. So again, look to see where Capricorn is in your chart, because this is where shit is really lit this month. All right. So Mercury in Capricorn. So I talked about Mercury in Sagittarius and how it's about, first of all, it's optimistic. It's seeing the bigger picture. Then now that you've seen the bigger picture, Mercury in Capricorn is like, all right, what work do we have to do to facilitate that bigger picture? Mercury in Capricorn gets us to think seriously. It gets us to communicate seriously. Capricorn is not about small pleasantries or shooting the shit. Capricorn is like, get down to business. What is it that you need? What can I do for you? Let's not beat around the bush, right? And that's how our communication ends up being when Mercury's in Capricorn, right? So the best use of that energy is to be able to conduct business. Like business does really well when Mercury is in Capricorn. Having serious discussions are also very good when Mercury is in Capricorn. Being able to think about things in a realistic sort of way is also a hallmark of Mercury in Capricorn. Mercury in Sagittarius, by contrast, is really can be a little fantastical. Because we see the bigger picture, we tend to idealize that bigger picture, right? Like, oh, imagine how I'll be when I lose 50 pounds, how I look. Oh my God, I'll be so sexy. Oh my God, all the women are going to want me because I look so great, right? That's Mercury in Sagittarius. Mercury in Capricorn is like, well, damn, that means I'm going to have to, track my calories every week. That means I'm going to have to go to the gym. That means I'm going to have to, everything I talked about before, Mercury in Capricorn is like, yeah, this is the reality of the situation. So we tend to think about things in more realistic terms. Now, one of the things that I've noticed about Mercury in Capricorn, because typically Mercury is in Capricorn around the same time every year, this is sort of where seasonal depression sets in. Mercury in Capricorn can be very sobering. It could also be a little depressing. Seeing things for what they are, seeing the reality of the situation, plus depending on wherever you live in the world, it's cold, it's dark, less hours of sunlight. It can really lend itself to depression, right? And so it's really important that you communicate with people at this time, especially if you're processing things, especially given the holidays. The holidays can be a very tough season for people, or maybe you are just suffering from seasonal depression, or maybe just regular depression, right? Mercury in Capricorn, although it can be depressing, it's also great to be able to talk to someone, particularly like therapists, people that you trust, professionals who can give you objective advice is really characteristic of Mercury in Capricorn. So although it can be sobering and depressive, it could also be extremely helpful if you're able to have serious conversations with people who can really help you and really guide you in the right direction. So I find that that's sort of the practical application of Mercury in Capricorn. Now, Mercury will remain in Capricorn for the remainder of January. So we still have that serious, ambitious, success-driven thought process or communicative style for January. But again, with all of this Capricorn energy this month, a lot can be accomplished if you're willing to roll up your sleeves and do the work. All right, so keep that in mind. Next up, we're going to have a shift in energy on January 20th because the sun will be moving into Aquarius, heralding Aquarius season. Aquarius season, it is very difficult, in my opinion, to put into words because it has this very weird energy, right? Aquarius is weird. It's quirky. Its traditional ruler is Saturn, so it still has that Saturnian Capricorn kind of undertone to it. But its modern ruler is Uranus, and Uranus is all about surprises. It's all about sudden change. It's all about rebellion, right? So when the sun moves into Aquarius, and contrary to popular belief, Aquarius is an air sign, even though it is symbolized by the water bearer. It's an air sign. So Aquarius season has a very intellectual flavor to it. Actually, we're motivated by our hunger for knowledge, our hunger for experience. But more importantly, Aquarius has the energy signature of uniqueness and originality. When you think about Aquarius, particularly when you think about Aquarius in terms of its modern ruler, which is Uranus, it's all about innovation and invention. Anytime I think of Aquarius, I think of like Thomas Edison. I think of, Tesla, not the car, the original inventor, okay? Like, I think of people who improved upon, or I want to say discovered, but I mean to say rediscovered novel things in society, right? It's about improvement. It's about innovation, and it's about being your authentic self. We become a lot more aware of what's not working in our lives. And that speaks to the rebellious nature of Aquarius. Aquarius is constantly looking for ways to improve upon itself. Aquarius is always like, I have this pen and I know that this pen writes, but what if this pen could tell me the time at the same time? Or what if it had a flashlight attached to it? How could that make my life better? What else? What could I do better if this pen were improved, right? That's the essence of Aquarius energy. So when the sun is in Aquarius, that's sort of where we're at. And again, I want you to take a look at where Aquarius is in your natal chart. This is where you can make improvements, particularly when the sun goes into Aquarius. This is where you could find new ways to do the same thing, or where you can improve upon yourself, or even when you can improve upon relationships, right? Let's say you're a Leo rising, which means that Aquarius is your 7th house of commitment. How can you improve on your relationship? And because Aquarius is an air sign, you're thinking about this improvement from a more objective kind of place. You're not emotionally involved. This isn't wanting to improve because you want to feel good. This is improvement because logically it makes sense. So many of us tend to be in our heads during Aquarius season. I love Aquarius season, especially because of the time of year that it occurs, because it allows us to think objectively about the things that we want and to improve upon them in a very logical sort of way. Me personally, I like to do a lot of my business planning during Aquarius season. Now, for me, Aquarius is actually my 10th house of career, so that makes sense for me. But wherever Aquarius is in your chart, this is where you can plan for the future in a very intellectual and objective sort of way. So use it for that very purpose. All right. Then next up, we have the star of the month, which is Pluto moving into Aquarius. And it's going down on the same day that the sun is moving into Aquarius. So I want you to put a gold star next to January 20th. I want you to circle it in your calendar. And I want you to be really observant of not just what goes on in your life, but what goes on in society. Sun and Aquarius, and they're actually meeting up at the same degree. They're going to be conjunct on January 20th is a big deal. Something truly innovative could happen that day. For some, this could be a day where you get a serious aha moment, like a light bulb goes off with respect to something new in your life, something surprising, something that you can improve upon. Again, it's this giant aha moment. And again, you're going to want to look at where Aquarius is in your chart because that will let you know. However, the gist of Pluto moving into Aquarius is that this is a whole new generation. And I spoke about this in the 2023 yearly astro forecast because we got a taste of this in 2023. Between March and June, Pluto was chilling in Aquarius, right? It was at the 0 degree. I don't even think it got to the 1st degree of Aquarius, but it was at 0 degrees Aquarius for sure. And we started to see significant changes in the collective, particularly in the way that the collective thinks. And this goes back to the channeled message I talked about before, how it's almost like a lot of us started to wake up. Well, let me say this. A lot of us have been woke, right, for years. But have you noticed that over the last year, a lot more people have started to wake up? A lot more people are talking about things that were just not talked about. I saw this commercial for BetterHelp, and I'm not advocating them because I've heard that they sell their data to Facebook or whatever. So that's some real shit. But therapy, you see how people are like embracing therapy, not even embracing therapy, but people are like, it's necessary, not just for everything that we've been through, but to heal ourselves. People are concerned and they're invested in healing themselves. When 10, 20 years ago, it's like you talk about that and people think you're crazy, or people think that there's something wrong, or people thought that there was something wrong with you. Now it's like, this is the new norm. I want to say in like 10, 20 years, like I will not be surprised if some sort of therapy maybe even becomes mandatory at some point in our lives, or even if it becomes a part of the school curriculum. I would love to see that happen, by the way. But this is very indicative of Pluto moving into Aquarius. The rules of the collective are changing. Just look at the kids. The kids that are being born now are like light years ahead of us. Like they're emotionally intelligent. And this is also indicative of Pluto moving into Aquarius. Like so many people, I want to say I'm a first year millennial, right? I'm teetering the line between millennial and Generation X, right? People in generations ahead of me, like emotional intelligence was not valued. Like you could live your life in relative peace with a fucked up emotional system, right? You could have anxiety. You could have all of this trauma. And it's just like, all right, cool. Like everybody does, right? So we all bonded with that. And now these kids are like, no, not only am I going to be emotionally healthy, I'm not going to take you being emotionally unhealthy and being near me. Like everyone needs to be healed. These are the rules of the collective that are changing. And we're going to see a lot more type of these rules change. Now, the one interesting thing about Pluto and Aquarius is the information age and artificial intelligence. And you'll find, again, a line has been drawn where you have a lot of people who are like, robots are going to take over the world. I just saw an article yesterday about a robot that attacked an engineer when it malfunctioned, right? Not to say that there isn't going to be evidence of that, but people are using that as evidence to say, no, we shouldn't have these kind of technological advancements. No, we need to keep things the way that they are. You also have people who are saying, well, AI is going to take over jobs. And it is taking over jobs like that. We can't deny that either. But here's the thing. As humans, and when I say humans, I mean humans as a species, we have to evolve. We've come to a point in evolution where we have the choice to evolve or not. And Pluto and Aquarius is really going to show that to us. Staying where you are, staying limited, right? That's what's going to keep you on old Earth, in that old timeline. It's not to say that you're just going to vanish, but the world is going to look, your reality is going to be very different than a lot of other people's who choose to evolve, who are choosing evolution, right? This is that liberation versus suppression I was talking about before. To use the example of AI, people who are like, listen, it's going to take away jobs. AI is not good. Robots are going to replace us. This goes to the example I was saying before about the seed that was planted in the weeds. It's not that you've been misplanted. You have to learn to adapt. Adaptation is going to be really important in this age of Aquarius, specifically when Pluto moves into Aquarius. And Pluto will remain in Aquarius for 20 years. So this evolution is not something that's going to happen like that. It's something that's going to take time, right? But it is a choice. Aquarius is all about the intellect. The intellect is about choice. You can choose whatever you want to do. But evolution is happening. You're either going to get on the evolutionary path or you're not, right? But it is a choice that we are going to be faced with, that we are being faced with right now. And like I said, Aquarius has everything to do with rebelliousness. So we're going to see this, we've already started seeing it, this shift in society where it looks completely opposite almost from what society used to do. I'll use the example of working, of, being an employee, versus being an entrepreneur. There is this push to move to entrepreneurship because it signifies autonomy and sovereignty, which are going to be, in my opinion, two things that are going to become very valuable in this new age. People want to be sovereign, and we have to find ways to be sovereign together, right? That's the whole point of Aquarius. It's the collective, but a collective that is not beholden to one or two people or a group of people, right? We no longer want to give our authority and our power away to someone else or something outside of ourselves. We want to find that within ourselves and then commune with people who think and act the same way. We're going to see this new type of community being built with Pluto moving into Aquarius. And so there's also this focus, and this is the last thing I'll say about Pluto and Aquarius. There's a focus on the future, which is very different from Pluto and Capricorn. Aquarius, all of these technological advancements is because we are moving to the future. We have a focus on the future. We're saying that what we're doing now, we want better ways to do it. We want our lives to be different in the future. Whereas Capricorn energy is all about the past. It's all about tradition. It's all about how things have been done. And this line, especially because Pluto is going to be moving between Aquarius and Capricorn this year for the last time, this conversation is going to get really loud, because you see, the younger generation is really concerned about the future. What is my future going to look like? And I remember this conversation really starting when people started talking about Social Security and how Social Security, there is going to be no Social Security by the time some of us get up to the age where we can collect it, right? And so what is our future going to look like? I feel like this is sort of the place where entrepreneurship really started to gain speed, because we realized that we cannot rely on the system as it was in order to secure our futures. And I say all that to say that Pluto in Aquarius is future looking. It's all about what do we want our future to look like. Whereas Capricorn is like, well, this is how it's always been done. This is tradition, right? Think of the British monarchy and how people adhere to that system because it's old as fuck, right? And that's just what people did. And you're starting to see, especially during the reign of King Charles now, a lot of these British provinces and territories are like, why are we still bowing down to a queen and king that has nothing to do with us, right? So you're going to see more autonomy in government, more autonomy in business, more sovereign, more personal sovereignty in society. You chose to incarnate at a really dope time in history. This is why you came here right now, to experience this shit that's popping off right now. And you may feel like it's really tough. Well, of course it's really tough. We're going from, imagine being put in a block of ice and having to break out of it. That's kind of the energy that we're experiencing right now. And yeah, it's tough. Yeah, it hurts. Yeah, we don't know what the future looks like, but we're moving towards something that is ultimately better. And we're starting that right now with Pluto moving into Aquarius. And that's going on January 20th. So again, circle that date in your calendar because I'm sure there's some really interesting shit is going to pop off on or around that day. Okay. Then next up, we've got Venus going into Capricorn. So just to help you keep track, we've got Mercury in Capricorn, we've got Mars in Capricorn, we had the new moon in Capricorn, and now we've got Venus in Capricorn. So there is a plethora of Capricorn energy this month. So again, look at where that is in your chart. That'll let you know where all of this is going down. But in any event, Venus entering Capricorn. Venus has to do with love and money. And when Venus is in Capricorn, Venus gets a little serious about these things, particularly money. Capricorn is an earth sign. It has everything to do with resources. So when Venus is in Capricorn, we become serious about our money, whether it's getting money, saving money, investing money. Remember what I said before? Capricorn is like, are you willing to put in the work? Are you willing to commit to this? When Venus is in Capricorn, this is the time when we choose to invest in certain things that may not pay off now, but will pay off in the long run. Okay. So when it comes to money, this may be investing in long-term things like real estate, things like that, things that appreciate over time. Accumulating assets that appreciate over time is really a great way to use Venus in Capricorn energy. Love also, it gets serious. It's not Venus in Sagittarius, which is where it was before. It's all about the idea of love and love on a higher level, a love for humanity. Venus in Sagittarius feels good. It feels like, yes, I want to be married, or yes, I want to have a commitment and what a commitment feels like. Venus in Capricorn is like, yeah, I'm committed to this person and maybe I don't like them today. Maybe they get on my nerves today. Maybe I don't like how they eat their toast, but I'm in this, right? I'm committed to this person on the good days and the bad days. That's why when you get married, it's for better or for worse. Venus in Sagittarius is like, yeah, that's the better part. Venus in Capricorn is like, yeah, that's the worst part, right? But you stick it out. This is when, things aren't so sexy in relationships. Venus in Capricorn gets you to look at the reality of love in your life. Venus is not just about romantic love. Venus is about relationships, period. So this could be the reality of your friendships, the reality of your familial relationships, the reality of your relationships at work, right? It just makes you really see things for what they are without the rose-colored glasses, without all of the heightened emotions. It's like the real deal type shit, right? Venus also represents creativity. And when Venus is in Capricorn, this is when we structure our creativity. Now, this is great for people who work in creative fields or who are entrepreneurs or content creators or something like that. Venus in Sagittarius is like, yes, I'm going to create content. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And this is what I want to achieve. Venus in Capricorn is like, okay, let me create a content schedule. Let me create a system either by myself or with a team whereby I produce content. It's the not so creative and bubbly side of creativity, but it's the side that keeps you structured. And in keeping you structured, that creativity can last and that creativity can bear fruit. Nothing feels worse than creating shit that doesn't bring you anything. Even if you found enjoyment in creating the thing for the sake of the thing, especially if you're looking to monetize, right? Nothing is worse than putting your art out there and you hear crickets or you aren't getting any orders, right? Venus in Capricorn is like, all right, how can we structure this creativity? How can we create a system whereby I can create things and they provide value to me and to others? And in turn, that bears fruit, and that fruit could be money, right? Venus in Capricorn is great for that. All right. This may also put a focus on your business relationships. So it could put a focus on your relationship with your boss, your superior, your manager, your supervisor. It could also put an emphasis on your relationship with your coworkers, your relationship with your clients and customers, right? Anything having to do with work and business, the relationships within that may come into focus when Venus is in Capricorn. So those are some things to remember. And to use the energy in the best possible way. Get serious about your shit. Get serious about your relationships. Get serious about love in your life. Let's say you're not coupled, right? Let's say you're all about dating. Venus in Capricorn is great for putting together a criteria for what you want. If you want to be coupled in the future, if you want to be married in the future, what does that look like in realistic terms? And what are you willing to do to commit to that goal? All right, so that's the best use of that energy. And then we've got the full moon in Leo, which is going down on January 25th. So full moons are all about culminations and endings and enlightenment. So at that time, you're going to want to look at two things. Number one, you're going to want to look at where Leo is in your chart. This is where, depending on where it is in your chart, this is where something may come to an end, like something may come to a close. You've reached the finish line, right? To put it in an example, let's say you've got Leo as your fourth house. Perhaps at the full moon in Leo, a home renovation project finishes. You're closing on a house. You're moving into a new house after months of searching for an apartment or something like that. That's how that full moon energy works. Number two, you're also going to want to look at the intentions you set at the new moon in Leo back in July or August. That may clue you in, especially if you've been nurturing those seeds, what is going to come to fruition. Now, full moons are all about finding balance because you've got the sun opposite the moon. So at the full moon in Leo, the sun is going to be in Aquarius. The moon is going to be in Leo. The axis of Aquarius and Leo have everything to do with fitting in, right? Because remember I said Aquarius is the collective versus standing out. Leo is all about being the main character. So perhaps this full moon in Leo may show you where you've been doing too much fitting in and not enough standing out. Or conversely, where you've been too much of a lone wolf and perhaps where you need to be a little more collective minded. Okay. Very enlightening, very insightful. Could also be a full moon that can be very dramatic. Okay. Leo has a flair for drama. If you know any Leos in your life, they can be a little dramatic. Again, Leo is very main character energy. So whatever transpires around the full moon in Leo can be a little dramatic. Try not to get lost in the drama of the situation, but try to glean what the situation is showing you. Either way, I feel like this full moon is going to be pretty eventful, and I will do a dedicated video as the full moon gets closer so that you really understand what this energy means. However, suffice it to say, when it's a full moon in Leo, expect drama, but expect enlightenment, but also expect the spotlight to shine on you. Remember I said Leo is all about standing out, and that full moon, it's almost like the full moon is going to shine on you and kind of show you things, perhaps things about yourself, but also where you can take a leadership role. Okay. But again, I'll get more into that as the full moon gets closer. All right. And then finally, we end the month with Uranus going direct in Taurus. And I sort of alluded to this before that Uranus going direct, Uranus going retrograde, you don't really feel it that much because it's not a personal planet. It's kind of far out in our solar system. And Leo, Uranus has been in Taurus since 2018. So we've done this whole retrograde direct Uranus dance for quite a few years now. But suffice it to say, when Uranus is retrograde, I call it controlled chaos. Things can still be chaotic. Things can still be a little surprising, but not as much. So to understand the energy, we have to sort of understand what Uranus and Taurus really means. Taurus is our comfort zone. Think of a bull, right? It's very hard to move a bull. That's why Taurus gets I want to say moniker. I don't think that's the right word. Taurus gets the reputation of being stubborn, right? Taurus is also a fixed sign. So it literally represents your comfort zone, where you're comfortable, where you don't want to be moved from. Here comes Uranus. The whole point of Uranus is to move you out of your comfort zone. So when Uranus is direct in Taurus, it's like a bull in a china shop at times. Not all the time, right? Because Uranus is quite far away from us. If Uranus was a personal planet, this would be like experiencing a fire every day or being like electrocuted every day. It's not like that. You just kind of get jolts of it every so often. When Uranus is retrograde, the voltage of those jolts is turned down. So it allows you to catch your breath, number one. This is when Uranus is retrograde in Taurus. You catch your breath, you're able to get your bearings together, and you're kind of able to settle. When Uranus goes retrograde, the voltage of those jolts gets turned up, and it's almost like, when they have those cattle prods. That's exactly what just came to mind. And they kind of jolt the cattle to move in a certain direction. That's exactly what Uranus direct in Taurus is. It's the universe jolting you a little bit to move out of your comfort zone. And so Uranus is going direct at the end of January, and that's exactly what's going to happen. So if you find that, you find yourself in situations where it's like you are jolted out of your comfort zone, or you find yourself in these situations that are nerve-wracking, anxiety producing, that are really getting you nervous, that really jolt your nervous system. It's not for no reason. It's to get you out of your comfort zone, slowly but surely, because Uranus spends a good 10 to 12 years in a sign, right? So Uranus isn't necessarily getting out of Taurus anytime soon. But like I said, with Uranus going direct, that voltage on the cattle prod is getting turned up again. And every so often, you're going to be prodded to move in a certain direction. And again, it's not random. It's not for no reason. It's to move you to where you need to go. I like to call Uranus the hand of God. It's chaotic because God, from our perspective, God can be chaotic. God moves mountains, right? But do you understand what it's like to have a mountain moved? That disrupts everything, right? But that disruption is for a good reason. So when you find yourself being prodded by the universe, just kind of ease into it, just go with it. Fighting against it is kind of futile. It's an exercise in futility. But now that Uranus is going direct in Taurus, you're going to be prodded again in a different direction. And you're going to see the benefit of moving in the right direction that the universe is prodding you to move in as the months progress. The universe always has your back. And I feel like that's a very overused statement nowadays, but it's true. Going with nature, going with the universe is it's the path of least resistance. Even though we are conditioned to think that resistance is how life should be. Everyone's talking about, and I'm going on a rant right now, so just roll with it. Everyone talks about a soft life. I'm in my soft girl era. You know why? And this is also indicative of Pluto and Aquarius, right? Where the rules of society are changing. Because the rules before were like hustle, grind, resistance. Life is hard. That is the conditioning that we've been brought up with. Life is hard. Life sucks. Right? That's why you have so many people who are just living to pay bills and living to put food on the table. This new generation is like, no, I want an easy life. I want to make money without having to work so hard. I want success without having to give away my power to an employer or to a company, right? So we're going to see how this change in society is going to benefit us. But that change, again, is going to come through prodding us out of our comfort zone. I want you guys to have a visual of that, of a cattle prod. Yeah, that shit electrocutes you a little bit. And it's so funny. Again, I'm on a rant, so forgive me. I was watching something yesterday and someone was talking about this along the same lines. And they've asked if you've ever been electrocuted. And I have been electrocuted. When I was 5, I put my mother's tweezers into the socket and it literally shocked me a little bit. And as scary as that was, I'm not even going to lie to you, it was a little exciting. It was a little exciting. And maybe that's why I am the way that I am today. I don't know. But think of a cattle prod. Yes, it's a jolt of energy. Yes, it's a jolt of electricity, but it's getting you to move and move in a better direction. So allow it to. And we're going to start to see that picking up in January. All right. And so that is the forecast for January. So now I'm going to move into messages from Spirit, pull some cards, and let it do what it do. All right. All right, so let's pull some cards and see what Spirit has for us for January. So as always, I do these by sign, but whatever message is for you, if it resonates, it resonates. Whether it's your sun sign, your moon sign, your Venus sign, Jupiter, North Node, doesn't matter. If it's your message, it is your message. So without further ado, and thank you. I've been seeing all of these comments in the chat. I have to say that sometimes when I'm on a roll, it's hard for me to acknowledge the comments. But if you are commenting, if you are here and you're engaged, I'm so thankful for your presence this morning. And hopefully this live is giving you the information that you need. All right. But I do see Respectful Cicada. I see Ultra Instinct. I see Shahian. I'm sorry if I am mispronouncing your name, but thank you. I see Desiree. I see Patricia. Thank you guys so much for being here and for engaging in the chat. I truly appreciate it. All right. So, of course, we start with Aries. So let's see what Aries has for January. All right, Aries. We've got the Strength card, which is giving very much Leo energy. Some of you are dreaming of your moment in the spotlight. Some of you have a goal perhaps in January of more recognition. It's like this daydream I'm getting of like saving the day, being the hero or the heroine, or being the main character. And Spirit wants you to know that this is a dream that is very much worth pursuing. It's also a dream that may require something of you that you don't yet have. And what's meant by that is, so that Leo energy, it's also a fire sign. So Aries, you have a bit of that energy within you already, although Leo is fixed fire. It's not that cardinal fire like Aries that's all about the initiation and nothing like that. Nothing after that, I should say. So Aries, this is going to require you to keep an even keel, number one. So there's something about not letting your anger get the best of you, not being impulsive, but learning how to keep that fire going, learning how to go the distance, perhaps when it comes to your passions, or learning to not roar at everything. Despite what we may think, lions don't attack everything and everyone. They're selective, right? Aries, you tend to just explode. You tend to just do whatever to whoever, right? Because you feel that impulse. It's that fire that you may not yet understand how to control. Where Spirit is like, for this dream, this goal that you have, you're going to have to learn to control that fire, control those impulses just a bit. Don't lose your impulsive streak, but just learn to control it. And this dream can actually be yours. So keep that in mind as January progresses, okay? Next up, we've got Taurus. Let's see what we've got for Taurus for January. Ooh, Taurus, your card flew out. And typically, I don't take Cards that fell on the floor, but I'm guided to take this one. So let's see what it is. Oh, we've got the Three of Cups. And this speaks to the message I was given before. Acceptance and conformity. Some of you are really at a point where you're like, I'll just be real. Some of you feel like you want to be accepted. So you're willing to conform even though it doesn't necessarily represent who you are. Like it's this, I just want to be accepted. I just want to be a part of the herd. But where is that herd going? Like, is that herd just on the countryside grazing? Or is this herd going to the slaughterhouse? Like, you have to take a much bigger view of this group that you want to belong to. Belonging feels great, but everything has a cost. And how much are you willing to pay to belong to this group, to feel accepted? Are you willing to get in the lifeboat? Because trust and believe, there are people who are getting in the lifeboat. Clearly, there are multiple survivors of the Titanic, right? Or are you just going to hunker down on the Titanic for fear of not wanting to seem like you're not conforming? The choice is yours. But I get this feeling of, I just want to belong. I don't want to rock the boat. I just want to be accepted. And for some, this feeling could be arising in you right now because Spirit really wants you to get in touch with who you truly are. If you're finding that you're not being accepted or you're really longing for acceptance, this could be a time when you really have to discover who you are. And doing so will allow you to find your tribe and to get that acceptance that you so desperately seek right now. Okay. Next up, we've got Gemini. Let's see what we've got for Gemini for January. All right, Gemini, you've got the Tower. So I feel like, and the Tower is very indicative of Uranus, which is getting ready to go direct this month. So you guys are going to be prodded, okay? And this prodding may come disguised as a catastrophe. Something may be falling apart, right? This is almost like a continuation of the Taurus message where some of you prided yourselves on being in this tower, right? Think of this tower as like the Titanic. Especially if you were rich on the Titanic, right? Like you're part of this group that has all these benefits, that looks good, that everyone wants to get into. And guess what? This group is starting to dismantle. As the Titanic was sinking, and I don't know why I've been getting this Titanic analogy lately, but we'll just go with it. As the Titanic was sinking, you think it mattered if people were rich or poor? Rich and poor people died on that ship, right? Some of you are part of a club because you like the perks. You like it's not even the acceptance. You like how other people view your membership in this club, in this group, in this collective. And you are on a sinking ship. And this is being shown to you, not just to show you or not just to disrupt your life. It's to show you that maybe your admittance or maybe your participation in this group is not really who you are. I feel like January is almost like a neon sign or a warning, like, honey, this ship is about to sink. Maybe it's time for you to go. Right? So Gemini, if things are starting to fall apart, especially if you've taken pride in how they came together and like, oh, this is great. And there's almost this energy of snobbiness I'm getting with Gemini. Like, oh, yeah, I'm in this group, or yeah, I'm doing this, or we're doing that. And Spirit is like, yeah, like this ain't going to work out how you think it is. Right? Get in a lifeboat. Even if you can't get on a lifeboat, try to secure a floaty thing, anything that you could do to survive this, because this is inevitable. And I think something like this is going to happen in January. And again, it's not for no reason. It's not just to disrupt your life for no reason. It's because you really need to take a look at who you are and what group you belong to and why you want to be in certain groups. Because this is inevitable. All right. Okay. Next up, we've got Cancer. Cancer for January 2024. Let's see what we have here. Cancer. A card isn't even coming out, but it's like some of you are feeling like you want to stay in your shell. Some of you are either feeling really defensive or you're feeling nervous, anxious, and you're like, I need to retreat to where I feel safe. There's an issue of safety this month. Oh, okay. Yeah, we've got the 6 of Swords. Some of you have been in a very tumultuous kind of situation or environment, at least over the last month. And you guys just want to retreat. You guys just want to regulate your nervous system. You guys want to get to a place where your mental is a little better. And I feel like some of you can really benefit from talking to someone in January, whether it's a therapist, whether it's a trusted friend, some sort of professional advisor. But January is a month that's going to be about calming your mind. You'll have to excuse me. For some reason, since yesterday, my nose, it's like someone is tickling my nose. And there's nothing there, but it's like I keep touching my nose. So please don't think I'm gross. It's just my nose is really, it's like someone's tickling it. Anyway, you guys are prioritizing your mental health in January. And I feel like you just want to get to a place where your mental is good. And I feel like you're prioritizing that over a lot of other things. So if that requires you to take off work, if it requires you to retreat from friends or family or whomever, then that may be something that you want to do in January. But prioritizing your mental health seems to be a theme for you this month. Okay. Next up, we've got Leo. Let's see what we've got for Leo for January. Okay, Leo, we've got the King of Wands. Look at you showing up. Feeling regal. Leo, for some reason, y'all are feeling yourselves this month, especially by that full moon in Leo. Remember I said that full moon might be like a spotlight. Like some of you are really feeling like main character energy. And I like this for you because, to be honest, Leo has been one of the signs that has really gone through some shit in 2023. Like Leo has been kind of tough. Life has been kind of tough, but I feel like January begins a time where you feel more like yourself, where you feel more regal, where you feel more main character, especially where you feel more confident. Some of you have really overcome some things. And in overcoming those things, you're feeling a lot more confident to move forward. So this may be a month where you find that you're getting back to yourself. Maybe it feels like life is getting back to normal for you, or life is getting to a place where you're more confident. Even if your life looks very different now than it did maybe a month or even 6 months ago, I feel like you're finding confidence in this new normal. But ultimately, it's going to get you back to yourself, to your main character, confident, looking good, feeling good kind of self. So I like this for you, Leo. All right. Next up, we've got Virgo. Let's see what we have for Virgo for 2024, January 2024. Virgo, what's going on? There we go. I always don't like showing this card. I'm going to show it to you briefly, and you're going to let me know what you think it looks like. Okay? Right. This is the World card. But more importantly than that, it is a portal. Virgo, you are going through a portal in January. And I want to say, I'm not going to say what Spirit is showing me right now because it is quite vulgar. But think of it this way. You know, especially if you're someone who likes spicy food. You know, you eat a whole bunch of spicy food and the same way it goes in is the same way it goes out. That's the kind of portal Spirit is showing me right now. That is to say that you are entering this new portal with force. Okay? It's going to be spicy. It's going to be like fast. I'm seeing like a ring of fire. I think that's what women who are giving birth, Sometimes when the baby is crowning, they kind of call it the ring of fire. Yeah, I'm these visuals that spirit is giving me is wild right now, let me tell you. But I say all of this to say you are entering a new dimension. You are entering a new experience. You are entering a new level. And it's like all systems go. I get the sense that your life looks very different than it did before. Um, New experiences, new, just a lot of newness. And it's coming to you very quickly. It's like this shit is coming in hot, okay? Don't be scared. Virgo. Okay. So, Virgo, your message is going to be a little longer. So, in mythology, the sign of Virgo comes from the Vestal Virgins, and they were the priestesses in the temple of Apollo. Now, Apollo is the sun, Apollo is fire. They are meant to feed the fire, right? And so part of why Virgo is so perfectionist, because if anything went wrong with these priestesses, they were thrown into the fire. Hence why they felt like they had to be perfect, right? They had to keep the fire going, be of service, and be perfect. Virgo, for some of you, you're feeling scared of this new beginning because you're like, yo, if I fuck up, I'm going to be fed to the fire. Because things are going so fast and maybe not in your Virgo kind of way, it has inherent in it that this new chapter in your life is a little fearful. Roll with the punches, Virgo. I'm hearing you can't fuck up any more than you already have, right? Things are going to move fast. Things are going to be exciting. Let them enjoy the ride. Let your hair down. Don't try to be so perfectionist. Don't try to be so prim and proper. Let your hair down. Enjoy this new chapter and enjoy it to the fullest. All right. Okay. Libra. Let's see what is going down for Libra for January 2024. Okay, Libra, we've got the Queen of Pentacles. Interesting. This is giving traditional Virgo energy. Some of you may feel a little muted in January. Some of you may be really concerned about worldly kind of things, 3D kind of things, like paying your rent, paying your mortgage, fixing your car, getting money, tending to your day-to-day routine. I feel like January is a month where you're really trying to establish a new routine. You may be experiencing a new normal. So something in your life may have shifted where now you got to get used to it. Now you have to figure out a new schedule, or something to that effect, right? But I feel like January is a month where you're going to want to get grounded and practical. Whatever this new normal is, even if it's not a new normal, if it's your regular normal, it's time to create a system. It's time to get organized. It's time to plant the seeds of practicality so that you can enjoy the fruits of your labor as time goes on. You see this pentacle that she's holding? This big pentacle that she's holding, like you have a goal that you want to achieve, and now it's time to put in the work to make that goal a reality and create a system that can facilitate that goal. Okay. All right. Next up, we've got Scorpio. Let's see what we have for Scorpio for January. Okay, for some of you, some of these signs, it's like these messages are kind of hard to come out. I'm hearing like hibernation. A lot of people are hibernating right now. A lot of people may feel like they need rest. They need to recharge their batteries. It's giving very winter energy. And I feel that for a lot of us right now, but particularly for Scorpio, because that's who I'm talking to at this moment. Okay, you've got two. You've got the Sun and you've got the King of Cups. All right, so this is you showing up to your reading, Scorpio. There's something going to happen in your external environment that's really going to require you to step into who you truly are. For some, I'm hearing like you're going to have to give your opinion on something, and perhaps something very important. And some of you may feel the need to beat around the bush, Or perhaps some of you haven't been feeling like yourself. And so whatever advice you're giving is not necessarily representative of who you truly are and what you would normally say. But I feel like the real you is going to shine through this month. And it may not be necessarily because you decide to. It may be some sort of situation that requires you to. Okay. Okay. I'm being told like that's it. Something about who you truly are at your core, that is going to shine through this month. And it's really weird because that's like all they're letting me say. It's like they're saying like stop the message right there. So yeah, that was Scorpio. That was really odd. I don't ever really experience that too much. All right, next up we've got Sagittarius. Let's see what we have for Sagittarius. Again, there's this energy of like the messages don't want to come out. It's this hibernation. It's, okay. I get it. Sagittarius. Okay. Yeah. You have the 7 of Pentacles. Sagittarius, it's like, I got this energy of you're not trying to hear anything. Some of you are really stuck in your ways when it comes to something. You're not trying to hear a different viewpoint. You're not trying to hear what someone else has to say. Like, especially if it's something that you've created. You're not trying to hear anybody else's input. And I feel like that's almost contrary to your very essence because you guys are very expansive, right? But for some reason, you feel very limited right now, or you're really digging your heels in about something. Like you're not really trying to have anyone tell you anything. It's almost like you're kind of on this high horse. Like, I know what I know. I don't care what you have to say, kind of a thing, especially if it's something that you've created, especially if it's something you've put effort into, you've invested into, like you're really not trying to hear what anyone has to say. And, I'm being told like, that's kind of okay. It's really like, it depends on the situation. It's not to say that you need to internalize other people's opinions or internalize other people's ideology, but perhaps people are giving you constructive criticism with respect to this thing. And you kind of just have to be open to it. Again, you don't have to internalize it, but you should be open to it. So some of you are really in a stubborn place right now. And maybe it may serve you to listen to what other people have to say. Again, you don't have to internalize it, but at least listen. Okay. Next up, we've got Capricorn. Let's see what we've got for Capricorn. Capricorn, we have the Hanged Man. And I know this looks kind of crazy, but it's not as crazy as it seems. All right. Capricorn, something is being delayed right now. Something is at a standstill. Something is not moving. There's a cog in the wheel of your system that has stopped. And rather than complain about it, you're being directed to observe. Observe what has stopped and observe people's reaction to this stop. It's going to be very telling, right? Because maybe the way that things were moving, they weren't moving in the right direction. Or maybe things have been moving in the right direction, but with the wrong people. There's something about like Spirit's like, I want you to take notice of how other people react to this. That's going to tell you who can rock with you and who can't. So don't just be like, oh, this thing isn't working. Oh, it's taking too long for this. Spirit's like, you're missing the whole message. Look at how John is reacting to this. If John is like, oh, thank God, whatever. Oh, I'm so glad. Or is secretly happy about this. That could let you know that John wasn't down with this to begin with. You get what I mean? Take stock of the people around you. Take stock of how they react to certain things. That may let you know. This isn't being stopped, or you aren't experiencing a stoppage right now because it's the wrong thing. I think it's just the right thing with the wrong people. So yeah, think about that. And think about how you can recalibrate. Think about how you can get the right people in, maybe the not so right people out, so that the wheels can start turning again. Okay. Next up, we've got Aquarius. Let's see what we have for Aquarius for January. Aquarius, we've got the Five of Cups. Some of you are down in the dumps. I'm getting the sense that this is, for some of you, a very sobering time, perhaps a depressive time, a time where you're really feeling a lot, and maybe you're not feeling the love. Maybe you're feeling more disappointment, regret, all of those kind of emotions. This is going to be a time when you're going to want to speak to people. And this is going to be a time where you're going to be shown love. You're going to be shown acceptance. But if you're so much in your feelings, you may not see these opportunities, or you may not see this love or feel this love that's being shown to you. So it really behooves you to speak to whoever you need to speak to. I'm hearing for some, if you were like on antidepressants and you've gotten off, maybe this is the time where you want to speak to a doctor about getting back on them, or you want to be able to manage these feelings, because it's not, your reality is not such that you aren't given love or you aren't accepted. It's that you're focusing on the lack of it. And this may be a month where you want to do what you need to do to be able to switch that perspective so that you can start feeling the love that is already around you. Okay. And last but certainly not least, we've got Pisces. Let's see what we've got for Pisces for January. Pisces, we've got the Four of Wands. I like this. The first thing that I heard was redecorating. So for some of you, you see how it's like this curtain? For some of you, January may be a month where you are redecorating your home, making your home more beautiful. That is an example of what this is really trying to say, which is getting on the frequency of home. Having a good home, having a beautiful home, that feeling of love that home typically evokes. This is a month where you're going to want to tap into this energy. Some may tap into it by beautifying their space. Some may tap into it by being with family, or being with people that they love, or being with people that feel like home to them. But this feeling of home, this feeling of safety, this feeling of love and acceptance is what you're going to be experiencing in January, and what you should be tapping into so that you can experience it. All right, my loves. That concludes this edition of the monthly Astro Forecast. Thank you so much for rocking with me, because we are almost at the 2-hour mark, and I typically don't like to make my lives this long, but apparently I had a lot to say today. So I thank you so much for tuning in. All of my information on products and services are in the description box below, so don't forget to check that out. I wish you nothing but the best for January 2024, and I will see you in my next broadcast. All right, my loves, take